Oh yeah, Northside Radio with the two Jons, Little Feet there with a little bit of Dixie Chicken. I don't mind a little bit of Dixie Chicken myself. It's
I like Dixie Chicken out of the Dixie box from KFC. No, not particularly KFC. The Colonel, God rest his soul, is somewhere spinning in his grave.
Now, Jono, on the line now, all the way from Hartford in Connecticut, just to give you an idea of where that is, basically if you go sort of north of Hartford, eventually you'll hit Woodstock, and if you go south of Hartford, you'll hit Long Island in New York. So that's where it is. So who we've got on the line is Ron Sedaille. Now, Ron Sedaille is a very famous disc jockey in Hartford. In fact, in the United States.
In the world, John.
Yeah, exactly. Now, he worked for a station in Hartford for 30 years, WDRC FM, which is just incredible. 30 years at the same radio station. It's quite an accomplishment, seeing that you and I, John, have only ever lasted, 3 months?
No, that's absolute rubbish. I lasted 16 years at one, and then then I ran out of England. I was 16 years working in English radio, and that was. Then I had to come back to Australia for tax reasons. But
no. We don't want to talk about that, do we? Yeah.
But no, Ron, tax reasons. I'm sorry, Ron. Now, John is giving you the big build-up. In fact, I've even got some.
Yeah, go for it, Johnny. Just give Ronnie a theme.
Around the world. And right into your face, Ron Sedaille is not just a DJ. He's a soothsayer. He's a music man. He's a jingleologist. He's a happy man. He loves his red wine. He will entertain us within an inch of our lives. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, put your cloven hoofs together for Ron Sedaille.
Round of applause.
Woo-hoo! Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's not bad, is it, Ron?
Wow.
That was all off the top of my head.
That was fantastic. Do you know why I lasted for 30 years at one radio station? I'll tell you why.
Good.
Years ago, radio stations here in America were owned by private companies, family-owned operations.
Yeah.
And WDRC in Hartford was owned by the Buckley family for I want to say 55 years. They owned the radio station.
That's pretty good.
And Rick Buckley, who was the president of the company, passed away. And the taxes in the U.S. are high. And when somebody passes away, there are taxes to be paid, and they had to sell the business, and that's what happened after 30 years. But when one door closes, another one opens.
No, that's amazing. I mean, the thing is, Ron, this is Jono. This is Jono here. I've got Jono here in this microphone. We've got John Vidler there in the studio. But it's a very similar situation in Australia. There was a family called the Lamb family who owned a very famous radio station, and there was other families in Melbourne. Then you had the Murdochs and the Packers. So basically they were family companies as well. And then what happened is a lot of bigger corporations bought out most of the families. And I think you were involved in a station that obviously had a lot of loyalty to you, Ron, as a long-time employee. What happened when the Buckley family had to sell out? Did they get new management? Did they suddenly say, bad news, Ron, you've done your last show?
Well, it was kind of like that, and it goes back to actually 1996 with the Telecommunications Act of 1996 here in America, where corporations were suddenly allowed to own up to 4 radio stations in one market.
Sounds familiar.
That squeezed out all the family operations, but the Buckleys managed to keep it together for 20 years after that.
Oh,
and what happened was, when Rick passed away, a couple of the family members wanted to keep the company, but they couldn't afford to buy everybody else out. So they sold to a company that decided to change the format.
Oh, wow.
So it's not like if the company were sold and they continued to play classic hits, I would have been devastated if they let me go under those circumstances. But they changed the format to classic rock, and I'm not a classic rock jock.
No,
I'm a classic hits.
Classic hits guy. I mean, the thing is that what John Vidler and I kind of were brought up as sort of classic. We were alternative radio guys. Then we worked in commercial radio as sort of classic rock guys, or closeted rock guys. And but I've been in a situation where a format has changed. It's almost like Spinal Tap. It's almost like the story you were telling there was almost like this suddenly you go home one day, you come back and you go, oh, by the way, we're now we're a religious station, or we're playing light and easy lift music. Sorry. So, who are your heroes though, Ron? I mean, were you a big fan of like Wolfman Jack, those sorts of DJs from the sort of 50s and 60s and 70s?
And of course, Howard Stern as well, Ron. I mean, he's actually being really applauding you.
Yeah, Howard Stern's a fan of yours.
Yeah.
When my brother, who's a big Stern fan, told me that Howard Stern is talking about you right now on his show. And I said, what? And I said to myself, oh my God, he's probably berating me. And, because Stern, that's what Stern does. Whenever he talks about you on the show, it's usually never good.
Yeah. So,
and it turned out that he really appreciated what he saw. And that's the beauty of what I did up there. We were basically recreating 60s radio, where you talk up the intros right up to the vocal, you play the jingles, and you're in control of the board. Now, that's one luxury that I got to do in Hartford, because there was no union at WDRC. Now, if I were working in New York City, I would have to sit on the other side of the glass with a microphone in front of me, and an engineer would be doing all that fun stuff,
Wow.
Mixing the jingles and all that other stuff. So I had the best world when I worked there at WDRC.
That's amazing, because the art of the DJ, I mean, John Vidler is better at panel operating than I am. I was in a couple of radio stations where you had to learn the panel, and then I got into it, and I realized how exciting and how liberating it was, as you say, Ron. But some disc jockeys don't know how to do it. I mean, because the old-fashioned panels were a lot more kind of user-friendly, whereas these days it's all computers and touch screens. I would probably be trying to get a jingle on and be playing the same record 3 times. Not even a record.
Well, I'll tell you what, though. With computers, it is actually boring compared to what we used to do. When I first started in 1985, we were still playing off of vinyl.
Yeah.
So we were slip queuing records.
Yeah.
Okay, we had 2 turntables, one on each side of us. We had cart machines, and with this mixture of players, that was part of the art. Keeping a tight segue and talking up that intro. It added to all of the excitement.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
today, it's automated. It's more automated, and it's not as fun as it used to be.
Exactly. Now, Ron, I thought we might play a bit of what you sound like now and what you have sounded like for a long period of time, because it is a particular style of radio, and it's quite a difficult style of radio to actually do. So let's have a listen to Ron Sedaille.
Showtime! Serving the universe!
And the crown jewel of Fun Tower Radio is on the air. It's All Requests Saturday night. Requests, dedications, another Chalala Kalala trivia question coming up, and a special announcement at 10 o'clock with Keith O'Reilly. You want to stick around for that, okay? 860-540-4766. All Requests Saturday night on Fun Tower Radio America. Broadcasting around the world at funtowerradio.com.
Request Saturday night.
So I thought we would kick off tonight's show with a favorite of the mighty mayor of Chattville himself, Mayor George Rare. He loves this song right here from Men at Work. The song's called Be Good Johnny. All requests Saturday night. Up the road.
Yeah, there you go. Ron Sedaille, sounding fantastic, Ron.
That was great. I mean, that's the kind of radio I love listening to, and there's not much of that real stuff with the energy. We used to call it back in the old days, forward momentum.
Yeah. We had many names for it back then. One name, Boss Radio, tight top 40 radio. That I'll tell you what, it's just to be able to sit here from home, by the way, and do this and have a glass of wine while I'm on the air. And you know what? If I don't want to, I don't have to wear pants.
Yeah.
When I come to work.
Well,
so
yeah.
that's Jono, I have a question for you. Since are you wearing pants tonight?
I am wearing shorts.
So
like, those kind of ones that you wear when you vaguely go to the gym. They're those sort of slightly elastic DJ shorts that make you look like they make you look like you've been to the gym. I'm wearing a t-shirt from Long Beach, California that my wife gave me, and it's a place called Hooters, Long Beach, California. Hooters. It's quite a famous bar there where they have a specific type of behind the counter staff, and so I'm wearing my Hooters t-shirt from Long Beach, California, and a pair of stretchy shorts. Typical DJ wear, I'd say. What are you wearing, John Vidler?
Well, I'm actually wearing pants because of the air conditioning in here, basically, because for some reason the cold air seems to settle under the desk here, and if you're not wearing pants, it's absolutely freezing. So I always wear pants.
You can get yourself a chill in the nuts.
Oh, yes. Look, we certainly don't want that. Now, Ron, when you left free-to-air radio, you did something quite remarkable. You went and set up an internet radio station. Now, not a lot of people actually do that, but you set up an internet radio station which is called funtowerradio.com. You set up one where you've actually got live announcers on it.
Yes, indeed. In fact, we've got, other than myself, I believe we have 10 other presenters. And that's what this station is all about. It's not about me. It's about what I call the Fun Tower Radio listener family. And most of the folks that are part of the family followed me from Blue Hills Avenue in Bloomfield, where I worked. My show, and I'm not bragging about this, but it's, my show got #1 ratings, constantly #1 ratings. And when they pulled the plug, the new owners actually got a lot of resistance from people that were listening to my show. And they actually called me a week after the sale took place, and they offered me a position there. They wanted to bury my show on Sunday nights.
Oh.
And I said, I told them, I said, you know what? I'll see ya. And my very good friend, Scott Griskowski, he's my chief engineer. He's the guy technically behind all of what we do here. He's a genius technically. He's the one that helped me create the Fun Tower Radio mechanism, so to speak. And without him, I couldn't have done it. And now it's my goal to most of the people that present on my station are part of the Fun Tower Radio family. Ryan, the groover from Vancouver, he used to listen to me, and now he's a presenter. Patrick from the Netherlands used to listen to me. He's a presenter. Michelle does a light rock show on Sunday and Monday nights. She's fantastic. She never worked in radio before. And I told her, I said, you have one of those voices. Well, let's give it a try. And she did.
But Ron, do these people actually send you the actual show, or do they log on and they do it directly so it goes out on your signal? Because it's on the internet, it's just hard for people to understand and get a grip on the idea. Because we can listen to your stuff from Australia because John Vidler discovered you that way. But where do these people, if they're in different parts of the world, how do they actually deliver you the show?
Okay, there are a couple of different ways. Folks that don't have the capability, because let's face it, everybody's doing their show from home.
Yeah.
So we have 2 presenters that do their show live from their homes. That's the groover, Ryan Gokuhl from Vancouver, Canada, and J.D. Fox, who hosts a country show on Thursday nights. And they both do their shows live. And it's actually, it's kind of interesting how we get it to work, because you have to deal with internet latency, which is a delay.
Oh, yes.
So, but we've got that worked out, and we have smooth transitions between the shows. And basically what they do is they broadcast from their house. It goes into an encoder. I retrieve it on this end, put it through the console here, goes through the processing and out to the internet, and it works.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, I remember when I was growing up as a kid in England, and then when I came to Australia, we used to have our AM radio, and then FM radio came in. And John Vidler and I grew up listening to Wolfman Jack, or listening to local Sydney radio, or Melbourne radio, or national radio, and it's just an incredible thing. I mean, even watching that last Quentin Tarantino movie, which was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the radio soundtrack from Los Angeles and Hollywood was all through that movie. And I think listening to your stuff it reminds me very much of that classic sort of hit radio, rock and roll radio that you do in such a lovely way. Yeah. And I think that's what I think that homemade radio is the way of the future. What do you think, John?
Well, I was going to say that the style of radio that Ron does was done in Australia, probably in the 70s and the 80s, but then it just died out. And there's none of that sort of radio exists in Australia anymore. I'm asking you, Ron, in America, are there still people like you working in radio or on radio stations in America doing your sort of stuff, or is it petered out like it has here?
Like AM stations, I guess.
No, not even AM stations. I'll tell you this, that it is pretty much fizzled out because none of these large corporations, and most of the stations are owned by large corporations.
Yeah.
They don't want to take what they think is a risk by allowing somebody to come in and have full artistic liberty of their show. And that's what I had when I worked there. I had full artistic liberty to do, as long as I didn't swear on the air or do anything to get anybody in trouble, I was able to use my talents to give them a product that consistently gave them #1 ratings. And that's gone. That's gone because now you have corporations running these radio stations. And to be quite frank, the people that are in management have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, it's always been a little bit like that in radio, and it was like I remember when I used to listen to Mark and Brian and some of these classic, like American radio shows that you would hear on cassettes or CDs and stuff, air checks and things like that. But I think what you're doing is fantastic, and it's classic radio. And Ron, you're always welcome on our show, and myself and John will get our we'll get our show reel, our audio reel to send to you, so that one day maybe the two Johns will be doing our show from somewhere out there on the internet and broadcasting on Ron's network, Ron's Golden Network. What do you
That's right.
say, Ron?
I'll tell you what, you are always welcome. You two are always welcome. Great. This has been a great conversation, and we need to preserve the art of good radio, because now you have just a few people that, like a good friend of mine who works for Entercom. He's voice tracking for 25 radio stations across the country. This is what's happening. They've let a bunch of people go and have a few key people that are making believe that they live in all of these different markets. And you know what? It's not working.
Yeah, it's a bit like that almost with TV. John and I have done lots of TV stuff, and sometimes you say something, you might mention Sydney or Melbourne, and the producer will say, hey, can we not say Sydney or Melbourne, because some people think you're coming from Brisbane or Adelaide, or they think you're coming from Perth. And so it's kind of like, it's the two Johns from just around the corner.
That's right. Now, Ron, just before we let you go, it's funtowerradio.com, and just very quickly, with the new president in the United States, what's the vibe like on the streets in America at the moment, or in Hartford?
I was afraid you were going to go there.
We had to ask. We heard that something was been going on for the last 3 or 4 days, because it's been wall to wall on all our TVs and radios. But there's currently two presidents, I understand. One president-elect and another one who's hanging on to the bedroom.
Right. Well, here's the deal. We have two people here. We have Mr. Biden and Mr. Trump, and the country is about 50-50 divided, okay?
Yeah.
And the difficult thing is some folks that are in relationships, their spouse may not like one candidate that they liked.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that going on.
Wow. A lot of divorces coming up.
I would hope not. I would hope that the reality is that people need to understand that there are people that have another opinion.
Yep.
And it just, you need to accept other people's opinions and not try to silence people.
Yeah. Exactly, and that's the thing with that's the art of having a good relationship with a member of the opposite sex or whatever relationship you're in. You got to listen to the other person, and you don't always agree. And that's the thing with Trump and Biden and supporters of those two gentlemen. They have to kind of step back and go, it's not about red, it's not about blue, it's just about the United States and healing that rift. And I hope, Ron, through the power of radio and good vibes, we can all do our little bit. Okay.
Okay, yes, absolutely.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you, Ron. You're welcome back anytime. Our people will talk to your people, as they say.
Okay, thank you so much. It was a great interview, and you two stay well, okay?
Yeah, you too.